It's the last meeting.
I have to wait for this. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board of Tuesday, March 7th. These meetings are recorded. Motion from John, seconded by Lena. On the minutes, any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, unanimous. There are no 81P plans.
Okay.
I will go out of order. And we'll go right down to number 5, which is the site plan waiver for Woodland School, 10 North Vine Street. The applicant requests waiver of site plan approval to allow for the addition of maintenance building on the subject subject premises. Specifically, the proposal is to construct a 30 by 40 maintenance building off the north end of the parking lot near the athletic fields, located in the northwesterly corner of the site. The project will include the construction of a concrete pad at the easterly side of the proposed building for the placement of portable toilets. All applicable zoning requirements appear to be met. Therefore, Larry is recommending site plan waiver as requested. With that.
For the record, I'm Jonathan Bruce. I'm the vice chair of the Woodland Building Committee. And as the chairman has stated, it's really a simple proposal. At the North Vine Street's over here, the new field is here, and there's a bus parking lot that we've constructed. At the top of the lot, we want to put a maintenance building for storing the field equipment, any other equipment specific to Woodland, in a pad site for portable restrooms. We specifically opted to not bring plumbing into the building for the simple reason we don't want any equipment being washed off over there. Really simple proposal.
Questions from the board?
I'll recommend approval of the site plan.
Motion by John for waiver of site plan. Do I have a second? Seconded by Babe. Any further discussion? Hearing not. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Have a nice evening.
Aldo, see how quick that was? Remember that. Especially when, in front of the Finance Committee. Remember that, okay? Have a good night. We now have a continued public hearing. Karen, if you don't mind.
Well, it's on this. Just read it. The first two.
Continued public hearing, application of F&D Central Realty Corporation for a special permit to construct Bear Hill Village planned residential development consisting of 147 detached single-family residential units on 118.96 acres lying easterly off Casey Drive and westerly off Beaver Street. Assessors map 57, block 0, lot 9, RC zone.
And the second one as well, because it's concurrent hearing.
Application of F&D Central Realty Corporation for the approval of Bear Hill Village. Definitive plan, a 2-lot residential subdivision located on 118.96 acre parcel off Casey Drive. Assessors map 57, block 0, lot 9, RC zone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. The applicant is seeking special permit approval to construct Bear Hill Village, a planned residential development on the subject property as per ZBL Article 6. The development will have a total of 147 detached single-family resident units and is located on 118.96 acres between Casey Drive and Beaver Street. Over 78% common open space is being provided. A minimum of 50% is required. Primary access for this development is via the extension of Casey Drive through to Beaver Street. Casey Drive will become a public way, hence the definitive subdivision plan. And as required by the article, the subdivision public hearing is being conducted concurrently with the PRD special permit hearing. A definitive plan is required to formally establish a proposed extension of Casey Drive as a public street. All other roadways within the PRD are to remain private. The base number of units allowed is 98 by calculation. The applicant seeks a 50% bonus density for a total number of 147 units. The units are designed to each have 2-car attached garage, and all of the units designed show 2-bedroom room arrangements. The development is proposed to have public sewer and water as required. Draft homeowners association articles and draft master deeds have also been submitted. It is recommended that both public hearings be continued to May 16, 2017, to allow sufficient time for the applicant to finalize plans for the bonus density project and to receive approval from the Board of Sewer Commissioners as required. I'm just going to read the continuing letters. Board of Sewer, at their meeting of October 4th, 2016, the Sewer Board Commissioners voted to take no action on the PRD special permit review for Casey Drive and Beaver Street pending more information to review the project. Excuse me. The water company, at this time, due to current drought conditions and Echo Lake Reservoir level, the Milford Water Company is unable to approve any new service connections. The Highway Department has reviewed the above-mentioned site plans and finds it to be satisfactory. However, he would like to remind the board that we stay consistent with the recent changes in road layout, such as a 28-foot wide of pavement, vertical granite berm, and single sidewalk on one side of the road. All trench permits are to be obtained by the Milford Highway Department. Commission on Disability has no comments regarding this site plan. I know, Mike, you had some,
Whole list.
several listed on your draft, so,
Yeah, and it is only a draft due to the fact that, once it came in, there were some discussions as to how the density bonus units were going to be achieved. Got into the review, and then with those discussions, I kinda held off with finalizing my
no problem.
review. I can go through some of them unless Bob wants to see, address them in your presentation, or you want me to?
I actually have not really addressed any of those items from that draft review because of the same reason why you submitted a draft review, because that we're still in flux with possibly changing the design with the, based on the density units and you know, so.
So I can go through them if you'd like, or we can just go through this presentation and we can work through them over the next couple of months, whatever you want. I will point out, though, that the drainage is being designed in a proactive approach, detaining and retaining the first 1 inch of runoff, which is in line with phosphorus removal. That's a proactive approach. And then there's some other things that need to be worked out, though, before I even really get into the drainage, such as soil testing. And since this draft was prepared, the proponent has hired a traffic consultant, and they have submitted a report. I would say one of the issues that came out of that, and in my review, was the site distance where KC comes into Maple Street intersection, the four-way. So I think they're going to be proposing a four-way stop sign intersection at that location. Other than that, I think most of the other things we can work out over the next few months.
I had emailed the board members a copy of the traffic report, and I'll reach out to the water company and have them actually review the proposal as opposed to just giving us a policy statement.
Well, again, I'm just curious how you're gonna work out the water. I mean, that seems,
Well, you gotta understand, if you look at when that letter was written, it was October of last year. I mean, so I mean, I don't know what I'm sure the levels of Echo Lake aren't that low right now, because.
forgive me, Bob.
No, I know.
I understand when this was written, but I guess the question is, all these months forward, is that what's changed to
Right, and really when you,
favor?
when we developed this first phase of Casey Drive, it was always with the understanding that the dead-end water line, 12-inch water line, would continue to
Loop back in.
to loop back to Maple Street. So that, you know, that's something that was part of that deal, when that agreement, when they allowed us to extend this water line up to this point, so.
Okay.
You know. So anyways, am I ready? So, as Larry said, this is approximately a 119-acre site located between Beaver Street and the existing Casey Drive. And the proponent is proposing to construct single-family condominium units, freestanding, similar to the ones that are at Beaver Pond Common. By right, he can build 98 units, and he's seeking a 50% density bonus to get it up to 147. Dominic was supposed to be here tonight, but But anyways, he has been in contact with Mike Brashani and entered into initial negotiations to renovate the Rosenfeld fields with new fencing, lighting, dugouts, and other infrastructure that they're looking for to make improvements in that park. As we said, the proposal is to extend Casey Drive to Beaver Street and create an intersection with Maple Street. And as Mike said, we'll be probably looking to put a 4-way stop sign there. The road that we show is 30 feet wide and not 28, basically because the Casey Drive that was been constructed originally is 30 feet wide, so we felt we would maintain it. Plus, I mean, it's being fed, Casey Drive has the potential of being fed by all of South Central 2, 3 up in this area. There's, you know, it's not quite a minor street. It may be more of a collector street, but we will adjust it to just show the one sidewalk on one side and create the vertical granite curbing instead of the slope granite curbing, I think, which is the detail. So the project will have sewer and water infrastructure within the roadway, which will become public. However, the pump station, which will be here, which pump the sewage by force main to the existing sewer manhole here, will be owned by the association. So the pump station will not be part of the town responsibility, just the piping and infrastructure within the roadway once the roadway is become a public way. We got stormwater structures here and here, which are used for this roadway, as well as another one here, which generates some of this area here. Another one here for this particular section of build-out. The proposal would be to phase the project. The first phase would be the actual construction and extension of Casey Drive to its completion. The second phase would be to construct this loop area here of these units. The 39 units would be constructed in the first phase. Third phase would be here, which would be another 44 units. Then phase 4 would be this little cul-de-sac area here, which would be 11 units. And then the last phase would be everything that's left, which would be this area up in here. So that would be another 50 units for a total of 147. We say, well, you know, stormwater management guidelines will be adhered to. We're looking to attenuate the 1-inch first flush rain instead of a 1/2 inch to help attenuate the phosphorus. There's a large amount of open space being left for this particular project, and a lot of common area that is upland within it. And we based on conversations that we had on a preliminary basis, and one of the time, we originally had just this one access here in this phase, and then it came back around. We've added a second one in this location here at a spot where we can get adequate sight distance in both directions. So now we, you know, not limited to just here and here, we're limited to here, here, and here for this long, you know, somewhat of a dead-end situation. Pretty much it. We're waiting on the, we've been waiting on a pump station design, which is what the holdup is with the sewer department. We have not been able to finalize that design. That should be coming very shortly, within the next couple of weeks, and we'll get to them within a meeting, within the next one of the next couple of meetings.
Speak up.
Thank you, Bob. Questions from the board?
Yes. Stop sign.
Yep.
I don't speak for the rest of the board, I speak for myself. I will not sign the plan that puts a stop sign on Beaver Street. We have enough traffic tie-ups as it is in this town, and there's no way I would ever. You can move Casey Drive up street, down street, but there's no way I will ever sign a thing and create another traffic problem in this town.
Well, back when we originally presented this subdivision and showed Casey Drive going through, it was always it was requested that we line it up with Maple Street to make it work. I mean,
Well,
What's the site issue, Bob?
I don't recall what the traffic study said, but it wasn't that much.
Severely impaired. The sight distance is looking north.
Which direct?
Looking
Well,
north.
Yes.
that's why the consultant recommended a four-way stop.
Yeah, I just was wondering
So
what
in
the
my
issue
review,
was.
yeah, so in my review, when I was out there standing there, that was one of my comments, but then the traffic engineer doing his job found that as well. And what it is, you run out of property, that he's not in control of that much property going north where he could, generate or create the sight distance. So you see where the road is just north of that dark line, the property line is,
Yeah, it's pretty close. There isn't that much
yeah,
right
so
away up there.
there's no room to really create it.
See if they pull it down.
we'll have to figure something else, again, I'm speaking for myself.
That's a very good point. There is a lot of traffic flow.
Well, obviously, I mean, to be able to meet the regulations with the 150-foot centerline setback, we would have to move this intersection 150 feet from this one and bring it and bend it down and bring it out over in here. Which, I mean, obviously, we could do that, but it just, back when Mike Santoro was here, was this, he requested that we line it up with Maple Street, so.
Yep, and I agree.
I'm
I
sure
think
when
Babe's
we did it-
contention is he's not looking to impede traffic on Beaver is what he's trying to avoid, I think is his claim. Not so much that Maple has a stop or that in theory Casey would have a stop, it's the four-way, I think, is where he has objections.
Well, obviously, Casey would always
again,
have a stop.
In theory, I agree with what he's saying, but the reality of it is,
Build the road.
well, yeah, but offsetting the road 150 feet certainly would, but does it really effectively serve the proper point? And again,
If it's the sight distance is cleared up by it, yes.
so,
It's strictly the sight distance that's causing
yes.
the four-way stop. Well, eliminate the sight distance
But,
problem.
I mean, I don't,
I think you need to take a look at the traffic report as to what you think you're getting coming out of Casey, because that may not be a great idea if there's high volumes at Casey and high volumes at Maple Street, which I know there are at certain points of the day. That's not a good solution
To offset the road.
to offset the road.
No.
You get too many turning movements within a short
Within a
distance.
short
of time.
distance, yeah.
and plus, the further we go in this direction, we're more in a curve. I think it actually inhibits the sight distance to the north even more.
You're going down, I think you might be going downhill slightly around there, and that's your property, you could bank that out to clear that out
Yeah,
to
but
see
it
it.
still doesn't help this way up in here.
Yeah, but you're moving it from the intersection already, so whatever you gain.
Yeah, so you're gonna gain that 150 feet, but you might, you still may only have a couple hundred feet. I don't know.
I can't tell without the, yeah.
The other thing to consider would be to have the through traffic be east-west.
Yeah, I know. I was almost thinking of turning the road, but you really don't have enough right of way. I mean, the actual thing, I mean, now, the way things are, the actual through road would be more appropriate to be Maple Street, and if you turn that and have the other roads coming in as secondary roads, that wouldn't be a bad idea, considering the way things are up there, but that may be beyond the scope of this.
Yeah, that would encourage northbound traffic on
To
Beaver
use it
Street.
instead of going to
take a
Beaver
right
Street,
and
right.
go up the main road and
Mhm.
stay off of Beaver Street
Yeah.
through the neighborhood,
Yeah,
and through the
Not a bad
narrowest
idea
part.
conceptually.
yeah, I don't know what the property ownership is in that corner, though, to turn.
I don't either, I don't.
The other, I mean, going forward, though, depending on how this does go forward, in what you decide to do when you go through that, things like stop signs, I'm not sure that we have the prerogative to do that, Larry, so that has to be brought, I think, to the Board of Selectmen, if we're gonna make that a four-way stop, if that is what they wanna propose. Because I don't think that we can put a stop sign on the other roads as part of this board, so we're gonna need to coordinate that with them. If there is no other solutions, and that's what we're going forward with, so we just need to be aware of that, because we can't approve a plan that says four-way stop, and then the selectmen say, we're not putting a stop on Beaver Street. and we have a plan that can't be built, so we just need to make sure we coordinate with it. And then the other thing, in terms of what you've showed so far, Bob, is I would assume that you're going to have to maintain, or you're gonna have to figure out how you maintain an easement and effectively the town's property in Casey Drive for the sewer, the force main.
Well, the
Because
force
I
main
assume
is
that's-
outside the layout. The force
It's
main,
outside.
yeah, it's outside the right-of-way,
Through the whole length?
through the whole length, all the way up, until
right.
it connects, until it connects to the
Oh,
manhole.
yeah, as long as it's there.
Yeah, no, I made sure that it was not gonna be within in the layout.
That's partly why it's 50-foot layout, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the, I mean, again, you know, it depends on what the traffic is, but I mean, we did change the bylaw, we did change our recommendation or our bylaw for the width. I don't know that I'd be adverse to sort of necking it down to 28. I mean, that's me again, I don't know what
Yeah, I
the
mean,
rest
you
of
can
the
do,
board
I mean,
is.
it's just in this
Yeah.
area here, and there's no,
Well, you may want to bring it through, you know, around that bend and leave it there,
then
and then
taper it.
right in that section, you bring it down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, I mean, unless I saw something in the traffic report, and I didn't have a chance to review that, unfortunately, but I will before we meet again, and unless there was something earth-shattering in there, I think I'd rather go with the narrower roadway, as Scott says, to be consistent, and also because we are trying to eliminate some amount of impervious.
The traffic report actually recommends to narrow it to slow cars down, even throughout.
Good point,
Yeah,
yeah.
the only downside to doing that is the fire chief's gonna want it posted
Yeah, you're gonna have to
on
have
both
posted
sides,
no par- yeah.
parking.
Yep.
But in theory, there's not a residence on that street in correlation to this, so I don't know how much parking you would have anyhow.
correct.
In theory, I mean.
In theory, yeah, that's right, because
I'm
you
not a
really
huge
wouldn't-
advocate of putting no parking on every street, I think it's foolish, but on this case, I don't know what you'd actually.
Unlikely to occur.
Yeah, I mean, unless, you know,
100 streets with 28.
but, okay.
Parking.
Additional questions from the board?
All right now.
They're coming back anyway.
I don't have anything else at this point. I mean, you know, obviously, we have a little more definitive as to what it looks like. I guess, the other thing in just talking about it in terms of when you do come back in is depending on what the density bonus, what you're looking for to do, you certainly need to do a complete report on that in terms of anticipated costs for, you know, what you're doing and things like that. Once you work
Some
that
sort of
through.
spreadsheet from them.
Have you done any preliminary on that?
Yes, we've been working, Mike
Shani?
Yes, about what he likes to get done. Not only, Mike wants to get a new fence shop on, Field, both fields. Old black fence, the whole thing, cage, everything, all new, the dugouts, new, one of them.
What you want, you to build Junior Fenway?
That's what they want. And also.
You're lucky they already put new lights down.
Also, they is looking for sod and, around those fields. I don't know if we could be able to do everything, but we working with them.
If you get some sort of, you're gonna have to get some sort of spreadsheet together,
Yeah, we do.
and so that we'll have a better understanding.
But right now, it's.
I think he said
And then in
2 feet. I
terms
don't
of
know.
costs and so on and so forth. Seeing that this is a public hearing, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? If you would.
A lot of comments.
No, please, let me just finish, then I'll listen to them all. For the record, I will need you to just state your name and address, please. And certainly you can come right up here, so that the nice people in the viewing world, all the 3 people that are watching, can hear every question and every word that you say. You're more than welcome to come
My
up.
wife and I are here. My name is.
I just need you to
Come
step up,
here
sir,
at the mic.
There's a camera.
just so that the,
Yeah.
you could, feel free to sit right down, be comfortable. Not exactly your living room, but we'll try to make
Yeah,
it
that's fine.
comfortable. And I just need you to state your name and
Yep.
address, please.
It's fine. Kevin Duffy, 126 Beaver Street. Been there since 1994.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
First thing, traffic on that road is insane, as it is. They've got 18-wheelers going down there. We've got the lift bus going down there. We've got everybody and their brother going down there. There's no sidewalks. It's all curved. And in the winter, when it's bad, like a couple of years ago, you can't even fit 2 cars at the same time beside each other. And now you're gonna put in 150 condos. with two roads, and I'm in the middle of those two roads, coming down around those corners, you know there's gonna be accidents. Not to mention the traffic, not to mention we've already got water bans. Need I say more? What happened to, other towns around here, they buy up open land and keep it as open land. Why doesn't Milford do that kind of stuff? We let everybody, Mr. Alfonso, build everything that they want. Now, he builds all the way up to what the law allows him to. Why can't we maybe make it less? Instead of 150 condos, maybe 75 condos or 100 condos? Leave some more open land, a little less traffic, less people going to the schools, which are already overwhelmed. So I have a problem with this. That's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
So I like those things to be addressed. What are they gonna do about all this traffic?
Again, if you think this is gonna be solved tonight,
No, I know,
Certainly
I
will
know it's
not,
not going to be,
so-
I know. But I would like to be
We're
put
here
on the
to-
record or
we're-
whatever, because I'm gonna
no,
be,
you're-
I'm gonna be in the middle of two streets. You got Maple there, I'm here, and they're gonna have the other one down here. I'm gonna be on two streets. When they come whipping around that corner down there, and all of a sudden, people coming out of that other street, there's gonna be accidents.
it's always amazing to
People
your
whip
point.
down there like you wouldn't believe.
They do.
I already had two head-on accidents in front of my house in the last 20 years.
It's always amazing what people will do in front of someone else's house. I'd love to see how they drive in front of their own home, to your point.
You know?
No. Again, we're here to listen to your concerns. Like I
It's
said,
bad down
they're
there.
certainly not gonna get
This is
addressed
just not
tonight.
gonna help it. And I understand Mr. Alfonso owns the property, and he can certainly, has his right to build, but just because you can build every little inch, does that mean you should do that? Right? Maybe a little less?
Then and just to that point, obviously, he owns the land, he's entitled to develop it.
And that's what I said, I understand that.
And sometimes when you look at a planned residential, historically speaking, two-bedroom do not usually foster a great amount of children to the school system, historically, just, whereas in turn, if you were to build single-family homes,
Yeah,
for a bedroom-
single-family homes would actually bring in less traffic and more money. Because people have to buy a home versus.
not necessarily,
Not
not
really.
necessarily,
They're all gonna be, if you're gonna put single-family homes in there, they're all gonna be four-bedroom homes,
or larger,
opposed to
More.
two bedrooms,
or
so.
larger. But again,
Maybe that's true.
but there's always alternatives and there's always trade-offs, that's all I'm saying, but.
And we're already under water bans. Nobody can.
Like I said,
water
we don't
bans.
control the
There's
water
another
company.
150 there, 300 other ones going across town. I mean, when does it end?
Again, we don't control the water company, I
I
don't,
understand it, but I'm just putting.
I don't know their business model in terms of how they can
I'm
do it.
putting forth.
Yep.
All these things that affect not only me, but the whole town.
Sure.
And I've already got, like I said, I've already got 18-wheelers coming down Beaver Street every day that rattle my house. And then now in the lift bus and all the other cars, and then now you're gonna add another 150 condos that are coming in two roads right around me. And that's not just me, there's other people that live on the street right there. Beaver Street is a terrible street when it comes to that kind of stuff.
It is.
So, that's my opinion.
Thank you, sir.
And if maybe it can be brought down a little bit, instead of 150, 75 or 100, that would certainly help the situation. One less road, maybe the one up by Beaver and Maple, but eliminate the other one, something like that, would help,
Thank you,
okay?
thank you. Anyone else have a question?
How you doing?
Wonderful, you?
My name's Steve Chinese.
No, just wait till you come up, that way they can
Live at,
get you on the microphone, I'm sorry. They make me be a pain.
I'm sorry?
Right in the middle of
You
I
wanna
didn't hear
start
a thing
over
you said,
again?
sir.
My name's Steve Chinese. I've been a resident of Milford all my life,
Your
three
address, sir?
generations.
What's your address?
73 Beaver Street.
Thank you.
I agree with my neighbor here. I think we all know right now that we have a serious issue with traffic up in Bear Hill. And I am very in shock that we're even talking about 150 units. I was at meetings before on acre lots, 75 houses or whatever it was before, which I was very happy about, because that's about what we could hold up in Bear Hill right now, especially with other projects that Mr. Alfonso's doing. I like what he builds. I like Mr. Alfonso. I'm not here to, you know, downgrade of what he wants to do for a living, and he does have a right to build, like you said. But we have a serious issue up in Bear Hill with lives, okay? We're taxpayers, we're residents of Milford. He has his rights, we have our rights. This is a big project he's doing, and it's gonna change a lot up in Bear Hill. And my concern is, and everybody knows this, is the pass-through, the cut-through traffic that we're absorbing right now in Bear Hill. It's not just building houses up there, it's people cutting through Bear Hill at high speeds on small roads that are not really capable of handling a project like this. And I am very concerned about this. I'm concerned with our grandchildren, our kids, bad lighting, small roads, fast cars, cut-through cars, enormous amount of traffic, four-way stop signs, now you're talking, which traffic is gonna be. Have you ever seen Central Street at 5 o'clock at night? It looks like the Field of Dreams, okay? It's crazy, all right? I think that he's gotta come up with more to please us residents that are living up there and have been there all of our lives. And just, you know, somebody's gotta really think about this project. This is gonna be a big impact up in Bear Hill, and it's gonna affect thousands of people that already live there. And I just don't know how this got this far, where you're talking 150 units, condo units. It's not the place for it. I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned for lives, the driving up there, the accidents, sirens every night we hear up there now. And if it wasn't for the cut-through traffic of people not wanting to go through Main Street and wanting to get home at a certain time, I'd be all for this project. But we got a serious problem here, and I hope this board really sits down and thinks about this, because it's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of lives. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Ronald Jenks. I live at 110 Beaver Street, Milford. I built my house in 1977, but my family's been up there since the 1900s. I know Mr. Alfonso builds houses for a living, and I have nothing against that. But if this goes through, I'd like to see the town do something, especially about Beaver Street from Central to Maple. A four-way stop sign, all that means that I'd have to wait longer to get out of my driveway. Not only the traffic going by, but now the stop line. You have to do something about that road. It's only 16 feet 3 inches wide in front of my house. And now if you put something this size in, the town should come out and widen the road. That's my biggest concern. Just like my neighbors said, it's a matter of safety. So instead of putting the cart before the horse, fix things first. And that's my biggest concern, is the speed of the traffic, the size of the road. Since a truck can't go from Maple to Central to get to the industrial park, they could go up Maple, but there's so many that come over Central Street and take a right and go up to Maple just beyond my house, that sometimes they have to stop to let the car go by just to get by. It's really too much traffic for that kind of a road. And now you're gonna put more on it? Well, you have to go out and fix the road first. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Michelle Duffy. I'm at 126 Beaver Street. Agree with the traffic, and recently I read an article where they're thinking of redoing that bridge down between, what is it?
Mellon Street.
Mellon Street down there, to alleviate traffic on 140 was the reason, was one of the things that they said, was to help alleviate some of the traffic. So now we're even gonna have more through traffic on Beaver Street. I did see when that bridge closed down, I did see a drop-off in some traffic, but now they're talking about fixing that and reopening that. That's just gonna cause more. And last year, my son, he goes to BVT, and he has to walk from our property up to the corner of Central and Beaver. And that one year when the snow was really bad, the road was so narrow, I was concerned for him having to walk on that road to and from school with the traffic that goes through there. So there's no sidewalks or anything. So again, like all my neighbors say, the traffic is a big, big concern, and putting a four-way stop, I can see people just flying down Beaver Street running that stop sign. They're not gonna, they're not used to it, and they're just gonna fly right through. So, and we've had head-on collisions in front of our house, a couple of them. The telephone pole in front of our house was hit once. Somebody went off the side of the road across the street from our house. I mean, it's crazy because they widened that curve right by our house, and people just come flying through that curve and spin out because of the sand and whatnot. So I'm just very concerned about all that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just want to which we didn't really touch upon, but the definitive plan was to create the definitive subdivision, which would be the Casey Drive with the two lots, Lot 1 and Lot 2 on either side of it, just because that was part of the next hearing, so we can just finish it all off at once.
And then depending on what's necessary going forward, there would be 81P plans filed later to create the open space parcels and the utility parcels. So.
Okay. Something just to, yeah, I'm going to do that, but if it's possible, in terms of looking at some of the concerns that the neighbors perhaps brought to your attention in terms of the roadway width, which again, I'm not familiar that it's 16.3, but if you could look into that. Also in terms of perhaps if you could eliminate one of the egresses if possible.
Well, we just added one, because,
again,
you know, we had, you know.
If nothing else, when you come
We
back.
eliminate this one, but we, you know.
But Bob, listen to what I was gonna say to me, please. I asked you to look into it. If you come back and it can explain why you can't do something, that's fine. But I'm at least asking you to look into the things that the residents up there have brought to attention. That's all I'm asking.
No, I mean, obviously.
I mean, if you're gonna tell me no right off the bat.
No,
it's
I
not
mean,
gonna-
I could, I only had one before, but I put a second one
Like I said,
at
if you
the
could just
request
look
of the
into
board. It was Joe requested, we do
and
something a
again,
little bit
you
more,
gotta-
so.
It's too long a dead end.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. There's only people in the thing.
I don't disagree with that,
There's limited
but
amount.
Joe, it's possible that he may be able to relocate it too. Possible. I'm just asking him to look into it. I'm not saying he has to eliminate it. I'm not saying you have to change it. I'm saying if you could look into it.
I
That's all I'm
mean,
asking.
I mean, is it possible in lieu of giving money to fix the parks, that the applicant widens the road? We did it on the other section, when part of the Beaver Pond Commons, there was a provision, and the other, the Roland Way and all that was, you know, there was he's already done
Again,
some
in
widening of
terms-
that.
In terms of the bonus density?
Yeah.
Okay. If you came back with a proposal that was sensible, and again, he's working with Mike Brashani. I asked for some sort of spreadsheet
Yeah,
so
no,
that
no,
we
I
have a
know.
better
I
understanding. If you're looking to do a combination of both or some sort of, we're certainly receptive to listening to what what will help the situation. Obviously, I'm gonna be honest with, we have to be honest with one another. Like in many neighborhoods here in Milford, 30 miles an hour is not what people are driving. And there's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
Okay? And regrettably, it's unfortunate, but like I said, I'd love to see how people drive in front of their own home because they make a mockery of what they do in front of other people's houses, and it's a shame. But by the way, your neighborhood's not alone. Okay, I live on a corner, some guy took out my pole, I don't know why. I've had the poor people across the street, their stone wall got hit twice in the matter of 2 months. Again, don't know why. But people are in a rush, and I don't know where the heck they think they're going, but that's just unfortunate. But there's very little we can do about it, I just wanna be, not being dismissive with you, but it happens in every neighborhood, you're not, you're certainly not alone. But again, if you could just look into some options, that's all I'm asking you to do, Bob.
Unfortunately, we know that historically, when you take narrow sections of road and you widen them,
It makes it go faster.
it makes it go
I know
faster.
that. I
It
know
may
what
be safer, but you're not gonna,
But it increases the speed as well.
It does increase the speed as well, yes, but it may be safer.
But in terms of, again, if a road's 16 feet, it, like I said, if you just look into certain things and see if there's anything that you could do in terms of alleviating some of the concerns and creating a better environment, not only for yourselves, but for them. That's all I'm asking.
Sure.
With that, going to grant the extension to May 16th?
Yep.
Do I have a motion on the grant? Motion from Babe, seconded from John. Any further discussions on the extension? May 16th.
That's for both of them.
That's for, they understand it's conjoined, so obviously that's gonna be for both the
PRD and.
PRD and, what's that, Larry?
Definitive.
And the definitive, yes. So May 16th, okay?
Thank you.
No discussion, all in favor, opposed, unanimous. Thank you.
This is for the third public hearing that got continued.
I have there was a public meeting for the application of Restaurant Depot from the applicant. They've requested an extension to April 18th. I have a motion from Joe, seconded from John on the extension to Restaurant Depot to April 18th. Any discussion? Hearing not. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Going back to number 3. We have a ZBA special permit referral for 231 East Main Street. The applicant requests a special permit to assume operation.
Want to take it outside?
If I could, we just have to continue along, thank you. The applicant requests a special permit to assume operations of a car rental business on the subject property. The car rental business, formerly Star Car Rental, is located in the 2157 square foot space previously occupied by Settles Glass. The plan submitted with the application is a site plan approved by the planning board on 10/15/2013. In addition, the Class 2 license is also being requested from the selectmen to transfer to the applicant for their occasional purchase of vehicles to lease, although there was no on-site auto sales of any kind. Therefore, Larry is recommending favorable be reported to the ZBA, subject to the actual number of placement of rental vehicles as shown on the approved 10/15/2013 site plan, and that no vehicles offer for sale on the property. All yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, John Fernandez, attorney, 12 Main Street, Milford, Mass. I have with me John Marshalitis, who is one of the two principals in Driven Ventures LLC. The other principal, Rand Curry, couldn't be here tonight. He actually suffered the death of his father yesterday, and so will not be available during the course of this week for this or the zoning board, I don't anticipate. But John is one of the two principals and perfectly capable of answering any questions you might have. Just to orient you, I think everybody's familiar. This is East Main Street, the Acapulco building, the restaurant building, is on one side, auto on the other side. In this larger area is located Star Car Rentals, which is run by Moshe and Debbie Atias currently, and it has been for a number of years. at this location. This is the site plan that was approved for their purposes, and it actually has been built according to this site plan. I know that might sound strange, but we have the.
You should frame that one, John.
We have the pictures, and all the parking spaces are where they're intended. Everything appears. And these marked spaces back here that are a little darker, you can see them on your own plan, are where reserved spaces are for the rentals to come and go, as well as another space out in front of the building that's reserved for the rentals. The intention of the principals here is to simply transfer ownership of the operation from the Atiases to themselves and to run it exactly as it has been run in terms of the number of rental cars. That they do intend to have a Class 2 license to do the same thing that the Atiases did, which simply buy the cars that they need for the operation to be able to move the cars in and out of the auction is all that that's for, so there would be no cars displayed. I don't anticipate that, in fact, we even need to come back for a site plan waiver on this because there's absolutely no change in either the use or the site.
So it's change of name, change of ownership, John.
That's really what it is.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move
Motion
to send
made,
a favorable to the ZBA.
motion made by Lena to send a favorable to the ZBA, seconded by Babe. Any further discussion? Here or not? All in favor, opposed, unanimous? Good luck.
Thank
Get to talk or anything?
Talk to John. We gotta move
Where'd
on.
everybody go?
Oh, you wanted to talk? Oh,
Clear a room.
I was gonna say, but I didn't wanna.
we had seen that before.
Okay, we have a
All right,
ZBA
John.
special permit, 124 Highland Street. The applicant requests a special permit to replace a single-family dwelling on the subject property. The original dwelling has been destroyed by fire. The dwelling is considered non-conforming by virtue of the lot being undersized in the RB zoning district. Section 3.1.2 of the zoning bylaw specifically provides for the restoration of non-conforming structures damaged by fire to the extent of more than 75% of replacement value upon issuance of a special permit by the ZBA. Larry is therefore recommending favorable.
I move we give a favorable recommendation.
Motion by Babe for favorable. Do I have a second on the motion? Second by Lena. Any further discussion? Here or not? All in favor, opposed, unanimous?
I grant it.
Yeah, you don't have the power to do that, babe.
What's that?
Granted.
No, go
Still has
ahead,
to,
go
still has to go
ahead.
through the rest of it. so everybody likes it.
Oh, you thought you were gonna get away with it.
And finally, we go back to Larry's segment
Marijuana.
of possible zoning amendments. Larry?
Well, I put them back on the agenda because it was my understanding from town administrator that the selectmen were interested in seeing something happen with the or with the retail marijuana that we'd been talking about. So both the retail marijuana and the solar for municipal uses, I put placeholder articles on the warrant. So as we move through the process, if you want to go forward, you
Didn't we
can
at
change
last
it.
meeting request that we sent this over to them for their review?
Yeah.
Right.
And you got nothing back?
Well, it all got,
I just want to make sure that,
yeah, some things got crossed, but they did see it, so,
okay, can you send them a letter back asking them for their input, please?
well, the
I'll
next.
sign the letter if you feel uncomfortable
well,
doing it.
No, the next,
Oh, so they're fine with it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I don't know, I have to see, but what I
I'm just looking for clarity, because
What I got
I'm not
was-
playing spin the wheels here. I just want to know what we're
What I
doing.
got was the remand for the retail
What does that
marijuana.
mean? Remand meaning they don't want it?
To
or send it
hold
back
the
to us?
hearing as part of the formal hearing process, and that's not what we asked for, so
All right.
they've reviewed it, and it was my understanding from Rick that they were favorable, so.
Do we need to,
But the other thing, just so you're aware, the other thing that we'd looked at was the residential animals,
Yeah, the
prohibiting them in the RA.
yeah.
So because things seem to be getting crossed in the mail, I submitted that as well for the warrant. So the 3 zoning articles can be on the warrant. It's just what they actually look like, you'll determine as we go along, because we'll hold the hearing later. And I'll send out another memo with all 3 of them there to make sure they remand them.
To be perfectly honest
for
with
the
you,
legal
Larry, in my
process.
opinion, in terms of the farm animals and in terms of the municipal solar, I think those are fine to continue on. In terms of the medical marijuana, I enjoy your method of the placeholder, but clearly, I'm not looking to get fought against up on the floor because they have a different opinion.
Well, no,
So
but that's
I'd
why I
really
find
like to
out.
get
Yeah.
some more definitive in terms of what they're thinking, so that, that's all I'm asking for. The other two, and not that I don't care about their opinion, but it's not really that
Yeah, it's that weighty.
influential to me.
It's not
But
that weighty.
this
yeah.
one, I don't want to be embarrassed.
There should be something written to us from the
I'm looking for just so that they understand, yeah.
Something should be
Well-
sent to us.
I'll talk to Rick tomorrow. He was out yesterday. and today. He's-
That's all.
But that's just to, so you guys are aware, all three of them are.
I don't have a
are
problem
in
with the other two. The
mix.
the marijuana one seems to be the one
Yeah.
that, if anything,
getting-
will schedule more of a debate.
It's more in.
And,
absolutely.
and, you know, I'd like to really be on the same page.
Well, I'll clarify it, but I
That's all
got
I'm
the
looking for.
impression from
Okay.
Rick that they were favorable toward it. He probably knows more about it.
Well, again, understanding that we're talking
No, I know.
both retail, storefront, as well as growing, which would be back in excuse me,
Could they
commercial.
get back to us, excuse me, could they get back to us in a letter?
I'd like
or
something
have-
from Rick.
Excuse me?
I'd like something
I
from
would,
Rick.
yeah, some kind of a.
That's why I
formal
asked for
letter.
us to send him a letter.
I know, but we haven't heard anything from them, and this is going on
Well,
over
you
a
did
couple
hear,
months.
I just relayed what we heard.
I know,
It's
but-
not what we
but I'd like to see it
expected,
in
and
black
it
and
wasn't in the
white.
context that we expected, but we did hear back, so
Okay.
I'll get it clarified.
Any other business?
Yep, we done.
Motion by Babe, seconded by Lena to adjourn the meeting.
Adjourn.
Thank you, and have a good night.
It's this one. He did it.